Hi, everyone. This is kind of a funny story, but we're going to talk about why you might not feel seen in interviews. Like, if you get off the phone and they're like, you feel like they didn't get what you could do. We're going to talk about an interesting book that I read, how I'm relating it from my business to the job search, and just something to think about of how to do something differently. Um, and I hope today for you is just some time to get out of your job search, take on a new tip, and try something different. So I read the book, The Story Brand Script. And so this is by Donald Miller. And I read it for my business. Since I'm starting a new business, I need a website. And essentially, everything you build within the story brand, you can build, you can use your website, you can base your website off of it. But the idea about a story brand is that it's the same story arc for literally every story when you think about movies, kids' movies, whatever. And it's what makes people want to listen. And so I know I had interviews where people were just like, didn't seem interested in what I was saying at all in the beginning. And I was like, what's going on? Like, did you even want to interview me? Maybe they already had someone else they wanted for the job. I don't know what it was, but at the end of the day, like you obviously need them to be engaged, but I think that there are ways to get them engaged in how you're telling your story. And so um the 7 elements of a story brand script is a character, and this is the main character. This is the hero. Um, and so now the biggest thing to think about as the hero is that this is not you. It's the company. It's the person who wants something. The main character. So like in Star Wars, Luke Skywalker is the main character. And there is a problem. So then they have a problem. The problem is the Empire is evil. And the guide is Obi-Wan Kenobi, who actually like shows them, shows Luke how to get what he needs. And then they come up with a plan, which is to learn the Force and deliver the Star Death plan. And then I'm looking at my notes over here. And then they do a call to action, which is come to me, come to Alderaan with me. And there's a failure if Luke doesn't act, the Empire wins and he stays strapped in his old life. And the success is Luke becomes a hero and finds his purpose and saves the day. So, like, that's just an example, but the main elements are character, problem, plan, problem, guide, plan, call to action. What happens if there's a success? What happens if there's a failure? So you can use an AI prompt to walk you through this, but this is where like the culmination of how I'm looking at career transformation comes together because one is that you're not the hero. The hiring manager wants to be the hero, not you, all the time, right? Like even when you go up for promotion, it's the hiring manager who is the hero. And I think that's probably advice I could have gotten a long time ago when I often made my hiring managers feel threatened because I was just such an overperformer. But it was probably how I was like um, framing it as well. But it's the same thing for me. Like, I am not the hero for my customers, like they are. It's their life. I am the guide. And so it's going to be the same thing for a job. And so I really think this connects because when you think about the approach I'm taking with design thinking and treating the hiring manager like a user and understanding the problems that they have, it's the same thing. Like you need to know their problem. It's essential to the story brand arc so that you can frame this in your interview responses. Like you need to be able to go in and do discovery like an anthropologist to understand what their problems are and then to introduce yourself as the guide. And be able to explain in some of your responses on, if you're able to solve these problems, like here's what could happen. If not, like maybe here's what could happen. It would be really interesting to try out on an interview, maybe a low stakes interview, but even just how you think about prepping for interviews would be good to have in your mind on the story brand arc. And so, the other key thing in a story brand arc is transformation. Like if someone hires you, where will they be? Where will their department be? And this goes from like the past to the future? Like, how do you bring people from the past to the future so they can see what their life, what their work life will be with you in it, and all the problems that you can solve for them. So I hope this is helpful. So use Claude. I think Claude's the best, but you can use ChatGPT too, and just say, I want to work. For example, I knew from my customer interviews, user interviews with people at Atlassian, that one of their biggest problems within the data team was becoming AI first. They want the whole company to become AI first for a lot of reasons. And so, and I think part of the data team needed that because they needed to understand that data matters. If you're AI first, you understand that data matters. And so they needed better data integrity, better data. And so this is going to help if everyone just becomes AI first. Now, so if I had thought about that, that would be like this the data team, like this hiring manager, head of data is the character. The problem is they need everyone to become data first because they need to understand that data matters and they need the best data to succeed as a company. I would be the guide in helping him lead the department in those things. And I would have a plan for how I would do that. And so I'll just say this was an interview that I totally flopped because I didn't find out that they wanted to be AI first until the interview with him. And I couldn't pivot in 30 minutes in my responses to show why I was the best guide and why I have a plan to do X, Y, Z. So that's where like it all comes together with networking. And I hope this helps. So use this as their story brand script. So what I would say in this prompt is, I'm interviewing at Atlassian. I know they have this problem. Here's what I'm really good at. Help me write a story brand script so I understand this. So like this might just be in your head. Like I don't think you're literally going to say, if you pick me, here's what's going to happen. If you don't pick me, here's what's going to happen, right? Like I don't even say that to my customers. But I do tell them the transformation that will happen if they do decide to work with me. So I think that this is like key, that you want to make sure that this is in your talk track when it comes to branding. I think I have a client that I just took on and she's like, I think what you do is branding. And that seems like over simple, but it really is. Like, how do you make sure that you show up the way that you want? I would say is kind of the nut of it. Okay. I hope this helped you all. And DM me if you have any questions. Cool. Have a great Thursday.